Okay. Big breath. Let's talk about what just happened.
Welcome, goblins, ghosts, werewolves, and witches. You've just crossed over into a shadowy realm where darkness whispers, monsters lurk, and nothing is ever quite what it seems. From bone-chilling films to nightmare-fueled TV shows to heart-pounding video games, join us as we laugh, scream, and geek out over everything that goes bump in the night. So grab your garlic, wooden stakes, and silver bullets and get ready for this special edition of Scripts and Screams. Now your hosts, Jessica Morgan and Chris Carter.
Hey! And Lizzie Morgan. We are...
Whoop, 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 I'm here.
We've all converged for the finale of season 2 of Last of Us, aptly titled Convergence. You see what I did there? How good was that?
Smooth.
Yeah, it was.
You may have to point your mic at your mouth a little more.
Oh
but
my
yes.
god, it's fine. You know what? It's fine. I'll fix it in post. Well, tonight was it. Tonight was the finale. I think everybody has a lot, whether it's thoughts on the storytelling, the different points of views and whatnot, all that shit. So I think everything is going to be talked about in length tonight. I think the spoiler flag will be ran up very soon, although not as soon as normal. I do, but
we don't need it very soon.
Well, I will say it's nice because we get like basically 1/3 of the game in this, and we can kind of, lean into what they did. And I also want to talk about this as well. We have all played the game through and obviously watched a lot of the fucking cutscenes from Jessica before this came out. So I would like to kind of maybe put our shoes in the people that haven't done that, in the sense where if you were just a viewer of the show, a fan of the show, someone who loved the first season and tuned in for the second season, I'd like to dissect how we are now that we have that sample size from, I would say, the first third of season 2, maybe, you know what I mean? Because I think a lot of what's going to determine whether it gets any more seasons, which we'll talk about later too, will determine how this is kind of being seen or was seen by people who have not played the game.
I think it's going to be both. It's also like the people who have played the game. You know what I mean? Because a lot of the fan base was already there.
But they were going to watch anyway, right? Like I always tell when I talk to Eric about this too. Shout out Eric Zana. People if you are familiar with the source content, you're going to watch it no matter what. Whether it's good or bad, you're going to watch it because you want to know if A, it's faithful, or B, it's trash, and then you can act appropriately. But for the people that have no skin in the game when it comes to the game, I think those people are more easily to fall off if the source material doesn't resonate with them. Like Fallout is a great example.
Interesting.
If you think back of it, a lot of people fell off this game right when Joel died, and I think the exact same thing happened with the TV show, where the people who were like, no more Joel, like, what is this? I'm not watching it. And I think anyone who's stuck with it, I'm hearing positive things from people who have not played the game, and kind of watching this episode, I was able to see it a little bit more from their point of view and be like, yeah, I think they changed some stuff that helped it resonate easier with people who haven't played the game and haven't been doing the fighting gameplay and getting through everything.
Right.
Because at this point in the game, at the beginning of this thing, Ellie's already killed many people, and in the show she's killed one.
Yeah, and I don't want, and again, I want to bring that up later. I want to talk about the episode first, because again, we're not going to get another fucking season of Last of Us for probably 2 years at this point. You know what I mean? So
he's not bitter at all.
Can I ask what you guys' overall opinion of this episode was?
Yeah, Jessica, you take it.
I do think this was a much better episode for me. It was definitely I felt like everything we've complained about, where it's is this Ellie or Belly? You know what I mean? That whole comparison. I feel like Bella Ramsey felt very Ellie in this again. It felt very. I was like, oh yeah, okay, this is back to us being like Bella Ramsey. They're killing this role here. You know what I mean? And it did feel like a little more true to the game in that too. Like there was a lot of things that I was like, okay, this is like sort of what I felt like I was missing. But man, you brought up some good points, Lizzie, where you just were like as far as if you play the game, she kind of's got to go through a lot of people and kill a lot of people because that's the gameplay. Like you're running into a lot of wolf soldiers, you know what I mean? Like they're just around. So what are you going to do? You know, you have to kill them. And it's like in the show, other than infected, yeah, you're right. Like it's just one person, which is such a good point. Like that's actually really resonating with me now. I'm kind of like, oh, that might be a little bit why we've like leaned in this direction with their emotions. But yeah, I really like this. I did. I liked, this was probably the best episode of the season for me.
Really?
I was
the best.
I'm almost right there with Jessica. I don't know if it's my favorite, but I was very pleasantly surprised by this episode.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's still some things that annoyed me, but I thought
Sure.
Bella Ramsey was back to giving a very good performance.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only problems I really had with her in this episode was some of the writing, and it was less her acting and more of the script and stuff. Which I think it's just they're changing things, and I think it's unintentionally changing personalities, and they're putting other characters in front of Ellie that they wanted to explore. And I'm all great. Like I love Jesse.
Yeah.
Just love him. But Ellie has had no forwarding, no development at all. And that's my problem. But she is this episode especially, I felt she did a great job. I'm still not overall happy with Bella Ramsey as Ellie because I'm not seeing the anger, and there's some scenes that I have been disappointed with, but I was pleasantly surprised this episode.
Yeah, I think for me, Jessica and I were talking about it earlier. Belly did really, really great this episode. And I think maybe it was because I didn't think about what you said until you just mentioned it either. I don't want to use the word resonate again because everybody just used my word. So I'm going to use.
What? You
I had it. I had
a word. If you didn't even use it yet.
I did. I used it at the very beginning. I used it in my intro. But I think that with you saying that in the game, she's become so callous and easy to kill because, again, it's a video game. And here, she's only killed one person that we've seen. And I think that, that can really lean into her psyche at this point. Because when we get to the point after she's killed Mel, can we talk about who she's killed? Because the episode's already come out, right? So I don't have to.
Yeah,
okay.
This is for everybody who's watched the episode, hopefully.
So when she has that moment with Mel and Owen, and especially Mel, I thought she did really great in that moment, being vulnerable. I think that was the first time that I get the anger part of it. I don't think Bella Ramsey does anger especially well, but she did do it well in the Nora scene. And you know what I mean? But I do like the fact that she was vulnerable because that does play into a different part of the Ellie character. So I think we'll see more of that. I was actually very impressed by her acting. No, I was happy with it as a whole in terms of that part of it. Because this thing was this episode was basically her on camera almost the entire time. So she had to carry the weight of that when she goes through the water, kind of feel that when the Seraphites nab her. And again, we'll get all this as we go later. But, looking at Bella's performance from this episode, I really enjoyed it. It was fantastic. It was probably my second favorite episode too. I do think that the Joel episode, episode 2, when we lost Joel, I think that was probably my favorite only because of the stakes and the gravity that happened. I will say that I told Jessica, my phone takes my heartbeat if I ask it to, and my heartbeat through this episode was mostly at 111 beats per minute, which is pretty
normal. Then
it fucking better not be normal.
As soon as Ellie was approaching the aquarium was when he was really like, oh God, you know what I mean? Like,
can I just say I'm so glad that we didn't see a dog in the aquarium. Like,
we're all so happy.
This whole season,
they
have only had dogs on the good side in quotations because she sees her own good side, but they've only had it in episode 2 where they fought against the zombies, and
they still utilize dogs, but it wasn't. I know. Anyone, this is
Yeah.
the thing with the game, right? It's like in the game, there is a moment where when Ellie's going into the aquarium, there's a dog that attacks, and you have to. There's no way around it. You have to
Yeah.
kill the dog.
It's the saddest thing. And
There's
also
a couple times in the game
There's a
Yeah.
couple
where
times,
dogs are coming.
but
Yeah.
people say, but there's you can play around the dogs. Supposedly, it's
Yeah.
incredibly difficult. But there's definitely a lot of people who do that. So this moment is kind of like, a certain moment, but I'm so happy it didn't happen. I had the same.
Yeah.
They use the dogs again when she kills Nora. Remember, she like skitters into that hole and she's in the tall grass.
Oh, yeah.
And the dog sees her
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like a critter or whatever.
Yeah.
But that, I think at that point I got nervous too. But yeah, anyway, so we're very glad that no animals
So
are
did
harmed.
I.
in the
That
taping
was
of the
my
show.
most. Okay, let's start from the top.
Yeah.
How did you guys feel about Ellie telling Dina everything?
Oh, that's
Because
Oh,
this
yeah.
is not in the game. Ellie
This is
doesn't
brand
know
new.
that Abby's father was killed by Joel.
Yeah.
She doesn't know a lot of this stuff, so she wasn't able to tell Dina.
Yeah, we didn't get that moment at all. It made sense for the changes they had made, I felt, for this part. Because like I said, I was a little torn up about them revealing that, like with the Nora moment and then Ellie being like, yeah, I know what he did kind of a thing. And then especially because it was like, well, then these emotions are so weird and it's hard to read you and where are you at? And this felt like, like this episode in general felt like the first time we actually do get some point of view from Ellie. I'm like, not like, you know what I mean? Like you said, we're so focused on everybody else. It's like, this is the first time that Ellie actually gets to speak a little bit to her feelings. Cause it's like, she just was avoiding it this whole time. And so it's like this part, I felt like it had to be there to make it work for that whole sequence of being like, well, if we're going to say that I knew about it and then especially like this, they said it towards the end or whatever, that it's like the change with having Dina be closer to Joel or whatever, you know what I mean? So I was kind of fine with it. It was kind of nice too, because it's like I said, it felt like, there was a deepening of the relationship when you have like a reveal like that, when you're going to open up and talk about it and stuff. So that was, for me, I was like, okay, yeah, it made sense is probably the way I felt about it. How about you guys?
Yeah, the moment she started revealing stuff, I was like, oh, I understand why they made some changes in other
Yeah.
episodes.
Yeah.
But as far as I remember in the game, like Ellie is kind of shocked at what she's done, but she doesn't really show remorse. She doesn't really say, did she deserve it? I think she's pretty convicted. And I was like, I could see that
Yeah.
why they're changing that, because I think if you're just coming into a show and the person's just going rampagey, you might not want to side with them. And so I
Yeah.
think they wanted to make Ellie more dynamic, in which you were like, she's doing this for someone she loves, but she feels bad. She's still a good person kind of thing. And so I understood why they had the flashback episode and why they did all this stuff. And I was okay with it. I think, I don't know. I don't know if, for me, someone who played the game, her knowing stuff and Dina knowing stuff has brought anything additional to the story for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great point. I think so it's funny. Not all things that are the same can be true. And I think that this is the opposite for people that are just watching the series, because I do think it adds a lot of gravity, like dynamics, a great word, Lizzie, to their relationship. Because Ellie saying, did she, when she's talking about Nora, I think that was a really important part, because I was thinking about through this episode, I kind of don't like Ellie. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. I get why she's doing it. Again, I know why, but if again, I'm taking the perspective of people that haven't played the game, like it's kind of rampaging is an excellent word. Also, now that we know that she knew all along that what Joel had done, like the truth. So to me, it was like, especially with the interaction with Jesse, like it's so tunnel visioned, and Jesse's like, you need to see the bigger picture throughout. And he kind of, especially through this episode, like your community, and I have a point about this later, but like look bigger, look beyond yourself. And she seems so selfish for most of this like season.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? I think her finally saying, did Nora deserve it? Did that? And her coming out to Dina about this, it's like maybe she's asking for a little, maybe reassurance, because Dina said it didn't matter, going back to her origin story, what happened to her parents was like, it wouldn't matter. She would chase these people down until she died, right? But is that true? Because now that's exactly what Ellie is telling her. And she there's kind of a moment where it's like, well, fuck, did he deserve it? Should we have come out here? Should we maybe have elaborated upon this? And you know what I mean? Again, that's Ellie not holding this information where she's like, well, this is best for best for me and my community. Maybe not best for like as a whole. So I think it makes her a little bit more likable and human and vulnerable, even though it doesn't necessarily have that, explosive effect that maybe she hoped it would. But it was great.
It's yeah, and there's like a big change too, like that happened in the game versus here that kind of comes into play, which is the fact that in the game, Ellie doesn't ever know why this has occurred. Like she
Right.
doesn't
It's a big
actually
deal.
like there's no confirmation of the fact that Abby is like did this because Joel killed her dad. Like there's no confirmation of that. It's just like, like she's aware. I mean, okay, don't get me wrong. It's like Nora still says that, right? Like, do you know what he did and things like that? You know what I mean? And so it's like that conversation's there, but we don't get to know specifically why, like, other than like, okay, Abby probably lost people there. We don't need to get to know that it's her dad. That's the big thing you don't get in the game. But here you get it. And so she says that as part of the speech too, where she says, like he killed everybody in the hospital and that was Abby's dad. Like Abby's dad was one of them and he shot her in the head. And so it's like that was a big difference between game to here. And so it does make it seem like you almost do have to have that moment of questioning, right? Because it's like, again, it was a little more tunnel vision sort of in the game, and which is the thing that I kind of miss, funny enough. But you're right in everything you guys have been saying about that. It's like we're kind of adding more complexity to everything now, right? Like that's kind of what these showrunners like to do, is they're like, well, let's explore this element though. And the element they decided to explore is like, well, what if Ellie did know that it was like her dad? Because that's, again, the parallels there between Abby and Ellie are going to exist. But now let's actually like make Ellie aware of it and see how it happens. And so, yeah, it is pretty interesting. I'll say like all the marks on her back though. I was like, I had a moment where I was like, how did she get these?
Yeah.
I totally forgot.
Yeah, same.
Like, because I was being like, I knew from playing the game that I was like, this is the moment that like, yeah, she shows up after Nora and she does, take off her shirt and needs some healing kind of a thing. But I was like, that was part of the whole, like, she gets her ass beat, like, as she's leading up to this, you know what I mean? Like, she might thought this was going to be an easy trek and it's not. And we don't get that part
We get none
the
of
show.
it. None of it at all.
Yeah, so I'm like, as much as you can justify that there might have been some scuffles, it was a little hard for me to be like, I get we're pointing at the game and being like, this happened, but I don't know.
Well, no, it was from the God, what are creepers, sneakers?
I know. See, that's what I thought too, but I was like, that was so long ago.
It's like technically like 5 hours, maybe.
I was like, it was much longer than that.
That was weeks ago.
I
Yeah.
know it had to be that, but it was just, it felt very like, I was like, I don't know. It didn't land as much for me, I
Yeah.
suppose.
It definitely took me a long moment of why is she injured on her back to remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh.
I think one of the problems I'm having with this series is because they're making Ellie more redeemable and more just sorry and unsure about things. It's changing a big part of her personality.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like the game. It doesn't feel like the same character
Right.
at all.
It's just not as revenge driven. It feels like, I don't know, like a little bit.
Yeah.
It's, like that element's in there, but yeah. And in this episode, we get more and we get the most of that from Ellie because we do have that whole face off moment of being like, we're going after Tommy, we're going to get Tommy, and then versus, wait, that's like where Abby is. But it's like, aside from that moment, I hadn't ever felt a moment of her being like, I really want this to happen. So it was kind of an interesting, like, again, they felt like they had to add that scene because it's like Dina was kind of almost more of a driving force, it felt like, than
Oh,
Ellie
yeah.
was. And so it's like, that was a nice moment of being like, but here's the full story now that I know it.
Yeah.
Now that I've been made aware that, through Nora, that this was her dad. Like, just so you know, are we still justified kind of a thing?
Yeah. I thought it was interesting. Right after that, her and Jesse leave, And one thing that irritated me again, and this is completely the writing, Jesse has his gun out and he's on the lookout, and Ellie's just walking.
Yeah.
Just chatting.
Chat in the
Just
in the
chatting,
middle of the
just-
street, in the fucking middle of the street
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. And I was like, no. Like, what it like every time I see her, I'm gonna do it obligatory. They should have cut her hair. She looks so young next to any of the other characters. And then you see her acting almost
Yeah.
younger.
Young, Brady.
And
Yeah.
it's coming off less of I'm angry and I'm going for revenge, like this is justified, and more of like a petulant kind of whining tone of, oh my gosh, you're telling me off, like, well, I have my reasons kind of thing. And it's hitting as so young. And I think that is also just because they're trying to develop the characters around her and give, Dina and Jesse and people really smart things and insightful things to say. And for that, they need Ellie to be a little more, I don't know, not dumbed down, but just consumed by something so that she's not looking at logic. And you can do that in a way that doesn't make her seem so ignorant, I guess might be the word.
Yeah, that's the kind of like what Jessica says too about that, where it's like she's kind of, I don't want to say aloof, that's not it, but definitely she's focused, but not focused in the way that we would hope that someone who's driven by revenge with the with this portrait of her father figure being beaten to death by a golf club. You know what I mean? That doesn't feel like the driving force, and her actions, kind of like what you're saying, Lizzie, don't seem to mimic that action. You know what I mean? That cause and effect is kind of missing at some points. And even if it is to kind of strengthen some of the other characters' resolve in terms of like, hey kid, listen up. Even the moment that creates that from the other characters is weak. It's soft. It's self-centered. There's so many, and again, people are going to look at Ellie and think she's kind of a pain in the ass. It's like, why do people could put up with this fucking kid? And Jesse even had a moment today when he says, again, I got a lot to say about Jesse, but even when she's kind of pushing back against him, he says, sure, Ellie, but think about this. If I were to go to I think he said Mexico or whatever with this chick, who would have saved you? Right. So it's like, look bigger than, it's chess, not checkers. There's 3 moves ahead, not 1 move ahead, because that's very short-sighted and whatnot. And his retort to what she was saying was spot on. But we just kind of don't always get there through all of her interactions leading to these moments with these other characters. So for me, she's very hard to like, except in this episode, for me at least. And even moments in this episode, I'm like, I don't like Ellie. So, but I get what you're saying in terms of like her using her.
Always being Team Abby.
I have. I tell you what, a lot of people are going to be Team Abby whenever that season comes out in 2 years or 3 years or how
We'll
long.
see.
Yeah.
Do you think Ellie in the game would have saved that Sarah fight? I don't think she would have.
Interesting. That's an interesting
question. Good question.
Yeah, I'm like, because I think she would have seen how many and been like, yeah, I think she would have done as Jesse and said, we're outnumbered. There is no saving that person. It's unfortunate. I don't think she would have ran into the middle of it to save this stranger when she's on her revenge quest.
Yeah.
I'm like, but do you guys feel the same way? Because I think you remember the game more.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think game Ellie wouldn't have, but I think like show Ellie, I did like that addition. It's like it was still keeping her, you know what I mean? Like because again, it felt like they were almost gonna go, yeah, she's just like this, violent, that was the word, violent person, and she's just, that's all she's about. And it's like, so this was like a nice moment of being like, no, that's a kid, and they're beating up this kid, and we should save this kid. And especially, I mean, she doesn't have a good grasp on who the Seraphites are and things like that. So I mean, there's probably that influence, but I did like the addition of it. I like, anytime in this show that they were kind of they're walking that line of it being like, as much as Jesse is kind of like, hey, he's kind of the better dude here and he's making like the good choices. Like this is a moment where it is like he just let someone die. You know what I mean? Like, and it's logical, we get it, but it does kind of add an element of like, again, it backs up what we eventually get to in this episode, which is the whole idea of like, you would burn down the world basically to come help me kind of a thing. And it's like, that's her. She's headstrong And she just, when she feels like something is right or wrong, she just pursues it, you know?
I guess that's my problem with it, is that this person, yeah, sure, they're an innocent kid or whatever, but like you're not here for this kid. You're here for Abby. You know what I mean? And this kid has nothing. I'm serious. It's true, and it's funny. In this moment, Jesse says that's not our war. And before he said that, I'm thinking the same thing. This isn't their fight. It's not their war. It doesn't matter. Because this kid could have killed 3 other wolves. Like, you don't know that. Like, this is not your fight. Your fight is with one singular thing. And because, again, the character who's driven by this one singular thing is like, it's like they have, you know, their shiny object. Let me go in a different direction. And I do understand the gravity of it, especially coming when you consider, and I'm sure they didn't, that episode last season with the 2 brothers and how the kid and how they kind of shepherded those kids to, you know, wherever they got to, and they didn't make it, but not for lack of trying. So there is the point of trying to save the innocents, but at the same time, like, they were just trying to get out in that episode. In this episode, she's in for a specific reason. And the fact that she's there yelling and arguing with Jesse, who's also, by the way, has as much stake, if not more, than Ellie does. Because what's great about that is he says, I'm going to be a dad. We have that line from Ellie a couple episodes. She's like, I'm going to be a dad. It's fucking, it is what it is. But he is going to be a dad. Like, that's his kid. You know what I mean? So he has as much more stake in the situation than Ellie does. And for her to not see the big picture again, to me, it's like, again, completely unlikable. And it's just, I don't know.
I will say, I still think that's very much, because I think this moment's put in there almost too like Ellie. Like, it's like, you know what I mean? It's I have feel like, yeah, this is like a kid that's getting picked on and I want to go save them. That's very altruistic. You know what I mean? So I think it's put in there for that reason. Chris, if you were a character in The Walking Dead, who would you be?
The
What?
governor.
Go ahead, tell the world.
The governor, probably.
No.
The governor?
Yeah, the governor
or Shane.
Shane.
Yeah.
Those are the two characters.
Jessica would be the
Chris
governor.
be.
Yeah, that's true.
Just had to throw that out there for anybody.
I believe, yeah, I think both of those
we could have
people
a
are
whole
right.
debate about that. I can kind of see Shane a little bit more.
Thank you, Lizzie. Thank you,
You
Lizzie.
really love to hate a bad person.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm gonna say, like, I understand why they made this change. They're trying to make Ellie very likable, make her relatable. Apparently, on the after show part right there, they said it was because Ellie saw in the Sarah fight what happened with her and Joel. She was saved by Joel, and so she wanted to save this kid. And I was like, I didn't really get that.
Me neither. Yeah,
But it
that's real quick, Lizzie.
I know.
Real quick, I don't want to interrupt you, but remember we talked about those things and that the director and the creator saying one thing, them being confident, and then it not reading. Anyway, just put a check mark next to that. Sorry, continue. I just wanted to bring that up.
I was like, it's happening a lot, but I think this also, for me, I'm having a real hard time seeing Ellie as an adult. And then Jesse came in and is obviously an adult, is thinking in a very adult way. And so when they added this very un-Ellie-like behavior for the game, and it made her seem even more childlike to me, of like, you're not thinking of the big picture.
Yeah.
You're not thinking like an adult who has things at risk. And like in the game, Jesse doesn't know that Dina is pregnant. I don't think he ever finds out.
No, he does. He knows.
Does he? Okay.
Yeah.
And it's like
it's very similar like that, where he kind of has a quick conversation when you're out with him, where he does the similar trick where he's just like, you know, were you ever going to tell me she was pregnant or something like that?
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. I was
it's
like,
very similar. I don't know if the two of them get to have a conversation or not about it.
I don't know. The whole thing with Ellie and Dina and Jesse, it almost seems like they hate Jesse because he's the ex. It came off in a weird way of, look,
Dina
all these are
definitely
friends.
the whole time I was like, Dina, why are you so mad at this dude?
I know. I was like, I get you guys broke up, but like, what the hell happened? And I was like, Ellie and Jesse used to be friends. Like, it's okay if you're dating. Yeah. He even like said in the thing, like, how dare you do this to me? And then just kidded around about it. He knew they kissed and he knew they liked each other. So the tension and like hatred almost towards Jesse, I'm like, I don't really get it. But yeah, that moment I was like, that's not Ellie like, and it's making her seem young again
and unlikable. I agree. Yeah, that's true.
Never said that. Didn't say that.
You're right, Lizzie. She is unlikable. You're absolutely right. I'm glad you said that.
Oh my god.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Whoa.
Right, all right. So the Jesse scenes, I think so. Obviously, you guys have that point of view on the scene when they are with the Seraphite and they have that moment about kind of seeing the bigger picture. Can we talk about the other big Jesse scene, the part that happens in, like, I think it's some tower when Ellie sees where she was told that Abby would be, and then
She's the
Yeah.
aquarium.
yeah,
She
and
sees
then
the whale and the wheel.
how did you guys feel about that conversation going? Since this is kind of a Jesse Ellie heavy episode.
I thought I was gonna hate it. Sorry, I thought I was gonna
knew
hate it as soon as Ellie started talking.
Yeah, Lizzie.
And I
Lizzie,
was
it's Ellie.
pleasantly surprised because she came across with her anger and being like, "You're a hypocrite." Like,
Mhm.
at the same time, I was like, "Ellie, you're stupid. Like, go save Tommy," kind of thing, as always. But I was like, "Yeah, that's with characters." She's like, "Tommy will be fine. You're being a hypocrite. You only care about this person, but you don't care about that." But I was surprisingly. I liked her thing. It doesn't mean I was on her side, but
Yeah.
but I liked
Convincing, right?
her come back to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like again, this was like one of those small moments where we get to actually see what Ellie is like feeling and thinking, and like one of the first times she's kind of really expressing that. So that was really nice too. And it is a little bit similar to the game in the sense, even the couple of things that she says about, where he's like, "That's Tommy," and she's like, "You don't know that for sure," or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
He's like, "We do," you know what I mean? And
Like,
and then yeah,
she's like,
so
he's got him pinned down. He's fine.
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
those kind of a
Yeah.
things, you know what I mean? So I was happy it was there because it felt closer to the game in the sense of that kind of where she is in her one track mind, where it's just originally was supposed to be like she's just after Abby. So even though she goes through this, even though she kills Nora, and like in the game she does feel pretty shocked about how violent she was, and there is like something going on there, you know what I mean? Here they went ahead and kind of were like, well, we'll give her the reveal, which gives her more to feel about it and everything, is that the reveal of the dad part. And so it was nice to still keep this moment and have him still be like, you know what, no, like she is still gonna, like, she can't let it go, kind of a thing, and she is gonna still go after him even though it's
Yeah.
Tommy. And it's funny because she says even like, "Tommy would want us to do this," or something. And I was
Yeah,
like, "You had a conversation before you left where you didn't."
I will say game Tommy would want you to do that. but-
That's true.
but
That's true.
I will say this was like this was, I think, one of the, because as soon as they started saying the speech, I was like, I'm gonna get disappointed with this. I don't think Ellie's
Yeah.
gonna, or Bella Ramsey is gonna pull off the intentions and like the it's kind of like anger but disgust and like, how dare you like try and tell me what I'm doing is wrong when you're being a hypocrite, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was the first time where I was like, oh, she actually sounds like this is something Ellie would say. This is something Ellie would get mad about, like, how dare you? Because I mean,
Yeah.
in the game, everyone was pretty much seen as luggage if they weren't helping her. She
Yeah.
did
Yeah,
not
that's a good
care
point.
about anyone else, kind of thing. And it was like, I have my thing to do. If you're gonna get in the way, like, I don't care about you, kind of thing. Almost.
She did care about Dina, but yeah, she
She
still would left
still
her
cared,
behind.
but she'd get like,
She was still
what are you
mad
doing?
about
You're
it.
stopping me.
Yeah.
You're holding me back, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was. I liked this scene a lot.
Yeah, this is
Me too.
probably my favorite scene, and also to me the most Ellie game that we get in the TV show. Like, she has the opportunity to really explode about what her singular goal is right there. I can see it, right? You know what I mean? And I think that she even says, "Fuck your community." She has that moment, and I kept thinking that this is exactly what she wanted to say to the council at Jackson, but she couldn't, right? Like,
Yeah.
in my mind, this is
Yeah.
exactly what she
He
wanted to
voted
say.
no.
I know. How great was that? Though? I
That
thought for
was a
sure he voted
good
yes.
Little reveal.
That was
That
really
was great. Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I did not see that coming.
I don't know if I didn't see it, or I think
I didn't
as
think
it-
about it
I
at
think-
all.
I think when he showed up and it was like, I had to come after your asses, where I was
Yeah.
like, oh, he seems like he really didn't want them to go. He wasn't supporting, so why would he vote yes on that? And I kind of felt that way, but I loved that they reveal it, and he's like, I'm thinking of the community, like,
And I do love
You're
her
thinking about
rebuttal
yourself.
about it too, where
Yeah,
she's like,
Yeah.
it's a-
yeah, about Joel and stuff. Because I do feel like that. I'm like, yeah, as much as it looks like she started to integrate. It's like at least through all those flashbacks we saw, it's like like he really was the person who,
Yeah.
you know, was
If Joel
everything at that
left,
point.
she probably would have left. Well, depending on the time of the story.
Yeah, but it's possible she might have still, you know what I mean?
I
Yeah.
think, and what's great about that is, of course, and they'll say it forever, and so will we. It's like it's a point of view thing, right? Because Ellie in her speech is 100% right, but so is Jesse. He's 100% right. So that's like these two things can be right in the same moment. You know what I mean? And I think that's what it does especially well. And as we get into the later circumstances, that'll be more and more evident. But yeah, I really enjoyed this scene a lot. I thought this is probably one of my favorite scenes in the entire series so far. Cause again, them both being right and Ellie choosing to forego Tommy and Jesse to go get, again, her one singular goal of this whole purpose. And I think that was really fucking cool. That was very video game Ellie for me. Even the way she delivered what she said, she was impassioned. Bella was great in this episode. This scene, the scene with Mel, the scene later on, I think Bella was great. And this is one of those scenes that's going to stick with me for a while when we talk about season 2 of Last of Us. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've had a lot of problems with some of the writing and the decisions of, you know, softening things and stuff. And this just felt really well written and well acted. I enjoyed it.
Can we talk about them adding Isaac into this and us getting to see a little bit of what day 3 is on their side?
Fuck yes, I'm ready.
Yeah.
My pads won't work. I'm just going to say it. Fuck yes, I'm ready. Fuck
It
yeah,
did
I'm ready.
work.
Wait, that one works? Can you guys hear this?
Fuck yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Well, then that makes me even happier. We are ready.
Oh my goodness.
I'll go last because I'm excited.
Wait,
I
what?
love.
I'll go last.
You know how he is with his Abby. Although I will say I love this episode. I love seeing it, but I'm starting to see the problems in the Abby casting because she is very much Abby, but she is a small girl, whereas Abby in the game is built to say
like a tank.
in one word, she's
Tanky.
built.
Yeah.
And so when he says like, where is Abby? I expect her to take over if like I
We
die
have, like,
at the end of the
plenty of-
night.
Yeah, we have plenty of Owens, we have plenty of Mels or whatever.
Yeah.
We only have one
Yeah.
Abby.
I thought that was
And I
so
was like-
good. Sorry.
It's good,
I
but
love
I'm like,
Abby.
when you look at her, you're like, in the game, you're like, oh yeah, there's only one Abby. Like,
It
but
did bring to
here
mind.
it brought me to mind of like, this looks like a very small, slight girl who, yeah, she had a lot of revenge, but what is special about her?
We're gonna find out.
Yeah, so at that point I was like, maybe that's good because I'm sure a lot of people are wondering what the hell, why is Abby so amazing?
Have you
kind of thing.
guys seen Troy, the movie with Brad Pitt? Have either of you guys
What?
seen Troy?
No.
It's-
Yes.
no.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
I don't know.
Okay.
Is the old one?
Yeah, it's old. The
Yeah,
reason I
yeah,
bring it
I
up is because there's a moment, and they have these two generals where one says, "Hey, bring out your best guy. We'll bring our best guy." And Brad Pitt is Achilles, who is their best guy. And it kind of feels like that's what Isaac, to me at first, was doing. Abby is their one guy or person that can beat anybody else. That's their like queen in terms of a chess game that just can beat anybody. But he goes on to say, I'm probably going to be dead and you're probably going to be dead, but Abby will probably not be dead. And we expect her. And he's got a great line, and I'm going to butcher it. He says, despite our fucking cool name, the WLF are more like sheep. And she's the leader.
Yeah.
And I think that's how they may try and finagle her not being as built as the video game Abby, but as being more of a tactician. And that's how they can kind of even the playing field. Again, no idea if that's true or not, but the way he said that, and I love that line, despite our badass name, we're more sheep.
I mean, yeah, like
It's like
the
they'd
way
be lost
she like even
without
just
us.
like commanded the like group, let's just say, you know what I mean? Like we got to see a little bit of her group of friends, and when she is like out in the cold alone and they're all talking to Owen and he's like, the plan is to try to talk her out of this, you know what I mean? She's such a force of nature. She still went out there, still finds like Joel, brings him back,
That's
and
true.
then like
yeah.
immediately gets the group on board with it. Like they just follow her. Like even when they don't agree, even when you have characters like Mel who are there like crying and things and not wanting to deal with this, it's like they just follow, and that's kind of, I think, already kind of spoke to probably like the power and commanding and stuff, like leadership she probably has. So it is interesting. And then definitely, I mean, the fact that she shows up at the theater or whatever eventually at the end, you're just like that alone did for me. I was like, oh yeah, like that's such a reminder of like, this chick found you in no time. You know what I mean? Like she just like showed the freak up right after this happened, kind of a thing. You guys were formulating a plan to leave, and before you even got to the next day, this
She
happened.
easily traced you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
When you hear
So-
Jesse say, like, how long did it take? He said 2 days. Right.
And
And it took Abby less than a day.
and we're gonna get there, but it's like she just shoots somebody as he walks through the door. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like it's just like it's very. So there is like a
Poor
there's.
Jesse.
I'm with you that when Isaac had that speech, me like having played the game, and as you probably like game Abby came to mind, and it was like I was like, you know what? If this had happened in the game, like we don't get the speech in the game, but if it had, it would have been like, dang, like yeah, that makes perfect sense. And so now it's a little bit more. It's a little bit more what they do where it's like, hey, we're going to someone else is going to talk about this character, and then we're all going to see this character this way. You know what I mean? And that's kind of, I think, what's happening. And there is enough evidence to back it up. So I hope it works out. We'll have to see in the next season, but I get you. We're
In
all
2
gonna
years.
still miss Buff Abby.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, that instantly came to mind, and I was like, what? But yeah, I was like, she has other things, and I'm like, I think it's a good way to get people interested in Abby's character.
Totally.
Finally, right? She's so
Chris,
good.
anything
Oh my
else you
God.
want to say?
Well, to be honest,
Yes.
oh, sorry.
Oh, not about this, though. Yeah,
Okay.
Chris,
Well, just,
anything but Abby. You know?
Let's move on. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, hell no!
well,
He's trying to press buttons.
I am. This is going to work. Hold on.
What the fuck did you just say?
I think you can't speak over it. Is the problem.
I like that even better now. No, what also the Isaac scene for me, it makes it more, the story at this point, more layered and interesting. We all know why they're breaking it up and they're only showing one point of view. We know that because we've played the game. We know the game is kind of formatted. But I think for the rest of the world, seeing something actually is happening with this other group that we were introduced to fucking 5 episodes ago. There's this big incursion. He says all the boats are all up to man. Everybody knows what's happening. All of our generals, our colonels, we're probably gonna be dead. I'm gonna be dead. You're gonna be dead. So like something fucking big. It's about to go down. Yeah. So and then we get the explosion as our Ellie's on the boat. Like something is popping off. And then in the great shot, right? When when Ellie's trying to snag one of the boats, kill those 2 dudes, and then from the darkness we see these lights pop on, and it just shows this like army of boats. Isaac is on the boat, along with other soldiers. It looks fucking dope. So
It did look, yeah.
right?
Cool.
Yeah.
So like, and it all kind of stems from that moment there, when the military officers are alluding to something, and it's just like, man, this is hype. And then we lose it. So again, I'm sure we'll obviously get more of it next season, but I thought it was pretty cool. That interaction between them was pretty cool. And it makes
You like the interweaving, right?
I do like the interweaving. And I was telling Jessica, Lizzie, I'm sure you'll agree with this because it's correct. Once everything comes out, somebody's going to Snyder cut this shit together where they're going to be like cross-cutting between things as they happen. And it will make more sense, or at least be more action-y for the people that just want that, and then aren't patient. Because for what's coming is going to be pretty cool. Anyway, that's all I have to say. about that as far as
I was
Gump
kind of
says.
hoping that they originally would put some other stuff in here. I don't know if this is a spoiler.
Oh shit!
but-
Are we doing it? Are we doing the flag?
No.
No. All right. All right.
You
all
know
right.
what? I'll just not say anything else. How did you guys feel about the Seraphite?
I mean,
Going on the Seraphite Island.
Yes.
yeah, it was interesting because that wasn't in the game. Like I think you had said it, Lizzie, where you're like, Ellie doesn't have a ton of interaction with the Seraphites or whatever.
Yeah.
And so this one I was like, oh, whoa, I like that it's like, 'cause she just had this moment of being like, let me save this kid. And then she goes and finds a younger kid, and the kid's like, got her.
She will not be
I
making
know.
that choice again.
I laughed though because
funny.
Ellie's like, I'm not from here. Tell them. And I'm like, the little boy doesn't.
How the
know
fuck
that.
does
Who
he
are you
know?
asking?
Yeah.
I know. I just showed up off the shore. I'm a mermaid. Like who
But I was like,
what?
it was cool to see like even the kid being like, nope, she's gone.
Like she did.
That being said,
yeah.
at the very end they said they had actually thought about putting something like that into the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is interesting, and I wonder if it just expanded it too much that they were like, "This game is long enough. Let's just,"
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's a very long game, so yeah, I don't know. I don't want to say too much about it because I feel like I can't help but compare it to parts in the game, and we
Yeah.
don't see those parts yet.
Yet,
so.
yes.
I'll say it was a interesting scene, but it added nothing for me. I was
Exactly.
just like,
Exactly.
move on.
I know I had a moment where I was like, okay, so this will be like more of a payoff probably later when we actually get to figure out what's going on with the big explosion-y things and stuff. And where she's like, get to the village. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which some of us who've played the game are like, the village.
Ayo, we know.
So I was like, oh, this might be like a cute little nod to that. But then they did say it at the end where they were like, you know, the universe is kind of telling Ellie, like, stop, go back, you know? And it's like, and this was like, I as soon as I heard that, I was like, yeah, that's actually true. This is like that moment of
Yeah.
like, she just, she got strung up. Like she was literally going
Yeah.
to die and didn't. And then she's like, okay, cool, let's go back to killing Abby.
Yeah.
I know, yeah. And also that, I was like, I don't know, the whole thing of like, let this one go, let's go back to the village or whatever.
Yeah.
Or like, forget this one. I was like, they would have just killed her.
I know, right? Like, get her quickly.
Yeah, it takes
Yeah,
all of
yeah.
5 seconds exactly.
Well, that, I was kind of like, that's
They
a
do a
little
prayer and
unbelievable, but
stuff. So they were like, we don't have time for the ceremony. We have to.
I would have, yeah, I get what you said, Jessica, though. I was like, that's not a good sign. Like, I was also, though, disbelieved that, like, the wave tosses her over, which happens in the game. And then in the game, you have to swim over to the aquarium. In this, the boat just popped back up and then happened to land right next to her. And I was like, come
Convenient.
on. I know. So I thought when she was getting onto the shore, she was going to be at the aquarium, and she
I thought the
was
same
not.
thing.
was
No,
not.
Yeah.
It was
That'd
a
make
nice
too much
little
convenient.
surprise. Yeah. Yeah. And then we get to the aquarium, right?
Which can
Oh
I just
my
say, I
God.
love the aquarium in the game. Like the way they designed that set piece, it's so cool. Like I just like
They showed us,
aquariums to
like-
begin with, but it was really cool.
Yeah, they showed us like little bits of it, but like in the dark, and so I'm actually really excited because I'm like, oh man, like we know we're gonna get to see more of this. So it's like to see it in its full glory, hopefully, instead of just these backdoor areas and stuff.
Yeah,
you
all
know what I mean?
dilapidated and rain covered. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, the aquarium, and then we get the scene, we get the talking scene and the killing scene.
The killing scene happened a
OMG.
little bit different from the game, but not
Mhm.
much at all.
Yeah, like we kept the whole map thing, right? The whole like,
Mhm.
hey, you come here, point on the map, and then it better match, sort of a thing.
Which they did it exactly like how Joel said it in the first
Yeah.
season
Yeah.
or game. Yeah.
Yeah, which I did appreciate because it was very, yeah, like let's go to that kind of place or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then yeah, the part with them getting killed though, that was different because it's like with I mean, Owen did still try to go at her, right? Like he doesn't, back down. But the fact that we had to shoot through his neck and then go straight through to actually hit Mel, that was different. And then the biggest difference that made it so much more like dramatic and I think added so much to it was the whole like she herself reveals that she's pregnant and asks her to freaking cut it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this whole time I've been talking about in the spoilery portion of this that it's like,
Hey.
are they gonna have Mel be pregnant or not? Because there's no lead up to it at all. We can't tell in the game. It's like, should I don't know. It's meant to be a spoiler. Anyways, in the game, it's like we know that we know more because we played whatever. So I kept just being like, is she gonna be pregnant? Are they gonna actually kill her for this? And it's just a little different. It's like Ellie goes to like search the bodies because she doesn't get any info, right? Like she doesn't get like confirmation. So she goes to search the bodies and that's when she finds that Mel's pregnant. And it is still very shocking for her and very upsetting. But holy crap, adding this element of like Mel being like, cut it out of me and like I'm gonna try to talk you through it and Ellie actually like wanting to try. Oh,
Yeah.
that's heavy.
Yeah.
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 I thought it was an amazing change. But I was like, oh God, they made it worse.
Yeah.
Made it worse.
They made it worse, but they made it better by making it worse.
Oh,
Right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that was a great change they made. And also it just says
it made me like Mel more too.
Yeah,
like, I,
exactly.
Like, again, I have more of Mel because of the game as well, but it's like I don't think I've ever liked Mel. Even though she's pretty, like we can see it, she's upset by what Abby does and stuff, and so you'd think she's like be a pretty, compassionate character. But this moment was so redeeming for me for Mel. Like I just was like, oh, like she, like I don't know, it rung so like, dang, I feel bad for her now.
I think I was like, I did not like Mel in the game, and it like took me some distance and looking from like her point of view that I was like, okay, I understand why she was like this. But
Totally.
it was just like, no, no.
I know.
That being said, I'd like to say I would have tried to cut out that baby.
What?
He's already dead.
Get the fuck
Might as
outta
well
here.
try and save the
I
baby.
was trying to think about it because I was like, this is she never seen a C-section, and then I was like, oh, actually, yeah, because
No,
like
she
again,
hasn't.
yeah, that's the whole thing. Is it's like we're in a different world, so it's like our world nowadays. Like we had sex ed and got to watch videos and all.
I
this.
mean, I don't know what a fucking C-section looks like.
Well, you need to go educate yourself.
Yes. So it's like, you know what I mean? So I was like, there was a bit of like, oh yeah, I guess like that would be much harder. Like she probably hasn't been around a lot of pregnant people
Yeah.
and kind of known and even then
It's one of those things
you know.
that's like at the end of the day, she's already dead. It's like you can't do wrong. But
Oh.
I also imagined like if she had tried and failed and Abby had found
Oh
that,
god.
can
Cut
you fucking
open?
imagine?
Oh,
Like
God.
terrible, like horrible.
Yeah, she
So
might
I
have
was
set
like,
fire to the
it's
fucking
almost
theater.
good they didn't, because it would have looked, well, either way, it would have looked a lot worse and stuff. But yeah, it was interesting and just heartbreaking.
And it was, and it just really kind of illustrates, like, I mean, it's the subtext of like a mother or like a parent, and like their last dying wish is to make sure that their kid makes it. Jessica brought up a good point earlier too. Ellie's mom does the same thing in season 1. Because she says save the baby, and she even lies to Jessica. Remembers this much better than I do. She says
she lies to Marlene and tells
yeah,
her
she
that
lies to
the
Marlene.
bite happened after she gave birth.
Yeah,
kind of a thing,
yeah.
So it's like there's a little bit of that where we see a lot of parental love and stuff in this.
Yeah, in the final moments,
series.
it's just it's hard. It's hard to see. It was hard to see that first episode, and it was really hard to see this one. And again, this was completely added. You know what I mean? So it was one of those great.
These are those moments that I'm like, these showrunners sometimes like. This is what I loved about the first season, is that they would take things and add it, but it would add so much to it. It adds so much depth and like, you know what I mean? And so it's like, it's been hard because I do feel like I've missed that. But in the last 2 episodes, probably that they've had of this series, I feel like I've been seeing those parts of it. I've been seeing that, and I've been like, oh yeah, I really enjoy that, like the reminders of it. I guess my question would be, is it too little too late or something at this point? Because we're like, when you're at the 6th episode of the 7 episode series, and you just start to feel like, oh yeah, they added some stuff that's cool,
Yeah. I'm definitely upset still that they have put Ellie's character, which is supposed to be the main character, on the back burner for me.
Yeah. And
Like, I
then
love that, like you said, you were not attached to Jesse
Yeah.
during the game. I still found it very sad, but now it's like he was like my favorite character
he's so
somehow.
good. Yeah, can we go to that now?
Yeah, real quick too. Part of it too is I'm reading some of the, obviously everybody's talking about
You're
the finale.
reading?
Well, I know, right? Can you imagine that? It's being read to me. No, I'm just kidding. The about part of the gravity of the Mel situation, right? In one of the knocks against it is that because it's such a big moment, because the gravity and almost in the horror of that, we don't get to spend a lot of time with Ellie kind of digesting that. She goes back, she walks through, she kind of had that look on her face and goes and sees Dina. But for someone to kind of see that harrowingness, she doesn't have, or we, the audience, don't have a lot of time to see the characters kind of work through that moment. And I kind of thought that was a good point. But again, this being the second shortest episode of the season, and we had to have that interaction on Seraphied Island. You know what I mean? If you give it a few more minutes to maybe show some of the breathing,
I mean, do you feel like you needed more time for that? I didn't feel like I needed more time.
I
That was
would like
enough.
to
It
have,
was like,
well, no, like after it, right? Like
that's what I'm saying. It was heavy, and then the 2 of them walk in, like Tommy and Jesse, And that alone felt very like, oh my God, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I got plenty out of it. Felt totally fine. I didn't feel like I needed more time to breathe or
Fuck that.
process what
No,
had
we need more
happened.
I
time.
didn't need more time at that scene. I do think it comes off a little weird of like Ellie's obviously at the theater like ready to keep going. And it's almost like
That was interesting.
if
Yeah.
she had a little thing about Nora and starting of like how what like did she actually deserve this, and you know, some almost remorse, and then she's accidentally, well not accidentally, but killed these two people. She finds out one's pregnant, like all this stuff, and she comes back, and instead of being like she was last time where she had to talk it through and you know was obviously upset about it, it's kind of like I'm upset, but I'm still gonna kill Abby kind of thing. It was one of those things.
Yeah, let's just shoot
It
past
felt
it.
like.
Yeah.
So I understand where like Chris is coming back from, but like
Thank you,
when
Lizzie.
I watched it, I was kind of like, I don't know, I was in between. I
That's what I-
didn't really need more,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. I guess maybe that's
could
my
have been happy with it.
Yeah, and then that's my problem with it too. Like the gravity of it just is kind of sped on by. I get what you're saying too, Jessica. And I don't want to say that we don't need to linger on the fact that she just killed this fucking mother by accident, and the mother asked her to cut out her baby. We don't need to stay on that moment for long. But for Ellie, who again, good point, Lizzie, where she just kind of came back and said, you know, it was easy to torture and kill Nora, and then for her to come back and really not just kind of work through even just a little bit that she accidentally killed a mother with an to me it just seemed like it's like I would like to see a little more. Is it necessary? No, it's not. But you know, hey, my God,
I would say
that's
like
what I thought.
because they have a similar moment in the game of like where you know Tommy is like between Tommy and Ellie where Ellie says you know yeah like Tommy's like we got to go home kind of thing, and then Ellie goes okay, but then she gets to live, you know.
Yeah.
And he has to say is that going to be like can you live with that sort of a thing. And she in the game it's the same where she's like yeah I guess I have to or whatever. But it does come off in the game more like she is kind of resolved to it, like where she is kind of like yeah you know what I mean, like they're like and you know Tommy says it in that point where he's very like you know she lost everybody, like she's lost everybody around her, like you know what I mean, like it's at this point you know that's punishment enough or something like that. um and so it does work. It does seem like they really are ready to kind of like move on in that moment in the game, in my opinion. And you're right. In this, it does feel like Ellie's kind of still like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's actually
Yeah.
more to
Even just
do.
like the talking about we're gonna go back there, and then she comes in, and it doesn't seem like she's like, yeah, we should go back. Like
Yeah.
I don't. It just didn't come off that way. It came off of like, ugh, like, which is another thing, like a very childish thing of,
Yup.
ugh, I have to go back with you guys, kind of thing. It's just hitting me too much. There's too many things that are coming together, and they're staying in my mind, and they're bothering me.
Fair.
It's true.
Should have cut her hair.
The damn hair. But then they leave Jesse alone with Ellie to have a little conversation.
Did you guys get
whatever.
nervous at this point?
Oh, totally.
Right.
100% was like, here
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
There he is.
Yeah.
Tommy's walking away. It's just the two of them in the theater. Yeah, I got super nervous, but I'm happy they had a little last conversation. And like I said, I do think there was a nice little moment of the whole line of, you know, if I was something was happening to me, you would like burn the world down to
Yeah.
get to me or whatever kind of thing. And I did. I was like, you know what? I do feel like that does still sum up Ellie as a whole, whether it's show or not, kind of a thing. And even in the show, I do feel like she has been that. She's more, I don't know, naive or something about it. You know what I mean? But it's like she is very still like, this is what I want to do.
I think she's not as obsessed as she is in the game.
That's true.
And in the game, you don't really, you know, like Joel died, but you're like, wow, Ellie, you're kind of going off the deep end. You are obsessed with this, and you don't really know why. And
it
now,
goes so dark. Yeah, you're right.
yeah, they've given us like even now, because I feel like this was like in the game, it felt to me like she got back at Abby because she didn't have that time with Joel to make things right, and she felt bad kind of about holding it against him, but like didn't get to you know, be with Joel. And so it was kind of revenge for that, but you don't know that until the end. And so it really pays off because you think she never made up with Joel and stuff. Um so I think it's different here because they showed that, and I it's hard because they're taking it a direction that I don't know what they're doing. They're trying to change things, and it's just I don't know where they're going with it. They've given away the ending. I'm trying to think of like what the ending is going to be now, and I'm confused.
I know what it's going to be. You do too, Lizzie. You do too. It's
We'll
the
talk
scene
about
right
it
before.
after.
Okay.
No, stop.
All right. All right.
Whoa.
All right.
Whoa, you haven't run the flag.
That's
What
true.
the
We
hell?
haven't. Yes, you're
I
right.
know.
Sorry.
We have to finish our thoughts. But they did keep the same moment that happens when he runs through that door.
Yeah. I
Which
think
I
that's
kinda
great.
liked.
Yeah, I think that's
Honestly,
great.
it was such a shock in the game, and it's like they
And they
didn't
kept
need
it
to
the
change
same.
anything about that.
No.
I also kind of hate the fact that just like in the game, Dina and him do not have a conversation about her being pregnant at all.
Yeah, that's
It's just so sad.
It is.
And and I loved in the show that they added stuff like, hey, I have a kid to live for now kind of thing.
Right.
And anyone who's seen the game
No,
probably
he doesn't.
knew they knew what was coming.
You know what's great about that too is that you know it's they talk about it a lot in battle in the military when like if someone dies or a sniper, it's like you don't have the opportunity to fight, and he didn't have the opportunity to fight. Right, he walks in and you're dead before you know what happens, and so you're robbed of, you know what I mean, you're robbed of their chance to fight for your life or that in this world. And I think that's great, and the fact that they show her looking at him, and he's got that hole in his head and his eyes are open, and I think that, you know what I mean, the immediacy of it and how short and fast life can end, or like short life can be and how fast it can end, I think is really illustrated in that moment. Because this whole time he's like, how many times did he say, I'm not dying out here. I have to make it back. I'm going to be a father, right? Like just really hammering it in. And then, you know, he doesn't make it out of the episode. So we and
again, the like hearkening to what Abby is, right? Like it's just he's barely through the door and he's dead. Like doesn't matter. Doesn't not a care in the world of who that is walking through, kind of a thing.
Right.
You're guilty because you're here, you know. So that was brutal, and definitely like I thought that was a great moment, the way they shot it and the way they showed Ellie looking at him and stuff and all that. And then the cut over to seeing Tommy on the ground and Abby holding a gun to him and stuff. This was very similar to the game.
Yeah, that's like almost one for one almost, right?
Almost. I was gonna say almost scene for scene,
It's very, very close. And very much like it just cuts us in the dark.
Fucking hated that.
That's what the game does to you too, though. That is the moment it happens. You get cut.
Is that the moment it happens?
Yep. It's that same moment where she says you wasted it. Like we let you live. This was interesting because she said I let you live.
I know, right? I thought that too. I thought it was me being wrong.
Every single one of them has said I let you live. I'm the one who saved you.
Yeah.
No, but in the game it says hold on. In the game it says we let you live, right? Am I remembering that wrong, or is that what she said? Okay, we'll have to check that. Sorry.
And Nora said we let you live, and then oh god, what is his name?
Owen.
Owen says like I'm the one that convinced them to let you live, and then Abby's like I let you live. So it's like
I know I let you live.
It's all the same, I guess.
Right, and you wasted it. The wasted it is definitely
I think it's important on who says that, because if she says I let you live, that's different than saying we let you live. We let you live means that it was kind of a joint decision in the sense that right. But if I let you live, I was the one who he killed my dad.
She did, and that is the change that's in this show, right? Like we got to see that where where they're all kind of, some of them are trying to kill Ellie and some of them are trying to stop. And it is Abby who gives the order of being like, let's just go, kind of a thing.
So Abby says we let you live in the game.
I knew it. I was gonna say it's a we in the game, but it's I in the show, and I think you're right. I think it actually is very purposeful because it is different in the game for that scene where they're deciding if Ellie's going to live or not, kind of a thing,
Yeah.
versus in the game, you actually don't get to see too much of the back and forth until later. You know what I
Oh, what do you
mean?
mean later?
But it is, I was going to say, in the show, they've made it they had a very big point where, yeah, there's an argument. You can see kind of the sides of who wants to kill and who doesn't. But then it is Abby who does say, like, let's just go, kind of a thing, or whatever.
think
We're down
it's-
here or something.
Do you think they're trying to do this in the moment of her being like, I let you live and you just killed a bunch of people? Like, kind of blaming herself in this moment. And that's why
It
they
could
said
be.
we.
Nah,
could be.
I think it's like, hey, we let you live and you chose to come back to die. You just go away.
Yeah.
Live your live. You were gifted the rest of your life by me,
You wasted
but you
it.
wasted
Yeah.
my gift. You know what I mean? I think
But
that's how
I mean,
she took it.
that's what I think they meant in the game. But because she's using I here, I wonder if they're trying to make it seem like she's more blaming herself.
She might take more responsibility.
That's a
for the
great point.
lives that have died. Yeah,
That's
that
a
might
good
be
fucking
interesting.
point. I don't know. I'd like to see if I want to hear some reasoning on that, because that's a good point. They also could have fucked up, but that's a big fuck up to make.
No,
Like, that's a
I think
huge
that's
fuck up, right?
purposeful.
Yeah, I just got to figure out
Mhm.
if they're doing it for what Lizzie said, which makes sense. I mean, she needs to carry that guilt, right? And by the way, when we see Caitlin Deaver as Abby in this moment, she's fucking great. Like, she looks.
Oh my god, she's
Yeah.
killing Abby every scene I
Yeah.
see her.
Right. Minus, of course, the physique, but in terms of like her costuming, even her fucking eyes and the way she did her hair, like this is very close to
Oh,
being
yeah.
Abby in the game. Like, I thought it was very cool.
Yeah. I'm loving Abby so far. I am worried about certain
Hey,
things in next
don't you
season.
can't come on the
No,
boat
no,
unless
shush,
you've
shush,
always
shush,
been on
shush,
the
shush,
boat.
shush.
All right,
I
all right.
love
Allowed.
the actress. I love the actress playing Abby, and I think she's
Gotcha.
doing a great job.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to have to change some things if they want to make it, like we were saying, she's supposed to be this like leader. She's the one who can replace Isaac. And in the game, it's very obvious why. It's obvious just by looking at her and then seeing all the things she does. And I think they're going to have to work a little harder in the show for that.
We shall see, maybe in like 5
Maybe.
years.
Yeah.
And then we get to see kind of where Abby is stationed, right? We jump over to day freaking 1
Yeah.
of Seattle
And
in
that's
the stadium.
that's the only way people that haven't played the game are gonna know what the fuck is happening. That's
Yeah.
right.
It was smart because I kept thinking that when they, like, because it's, they cut to black and I was like, okay, they did the same thing in the game. They can't end it there. And then we go over to Abby and we start it very similar to how the game kind of starts with Abby. And I was like, how is this going to be interesting? Where do you end it? And it's like the reveal of it being Seattle day 1. I was like, oh, okay. It's kind of letting everybody know that we are going to retrace these steps and we're going to see the other side of the story, sort of a thing.
Yeah.
Which I think
I'm
is the only thing you can do to be like, why are we coming back, kind of a thing, other
Yeah.
than to see if, I guess, Ellie dies or not.
I will actually say this kind of gave me hope for next season. And I love the Abby so far, and I'm loving Isaac.
Yeah, it's
Really the
fun.
only-
It's yeah.
So I'm actually very much looking forward to next season whenever
2
the
years.
hell it comes out.
Yes.
But I do think they're going to have trouble getting people who didn't play the game to just come in, because for them, and even for us when we're playing the game, this is a whole new character. This is a whole
Yeah.
new land. This is a whole new story. And it,
Yeah.
for a while, doesn't really have anything to do with the
Right.
story we've been following for 2 seasons
Yeah.
and stuff. So I think it's gonna, they
Gonna
had a
be a
drop
slow
when
start.
Joel died, of course. But
Right.
I think it's going to be interesting to see if they can get their community back in season 3.
Yeah, I'm with you. I kind of had the same thought where I'm like, I know as a player, once we switched over to Abby, I was even like, I don't want to play as this chick.
Oh, I instantly quit and was like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, right? It's just like, I don't want to do this. So, you know what I mean? It's going to be, there are going to still be people that, even though we've seen some of the story now, and they gave us the reason why Abby did it, which we didn't have in the game at that, up until like this point, basically. So that was a big difference. So I think they had to kind of give us that so that maybe people will come back and watch it,
Yeah.
You know what's great about
I do think a lot of people, and this is me. I'm very happy with this episode, but there's been a lot of changes that I did not like in this season. And I think a lot of people have kind of not fallen off, but I've kind of lost the trust in the writers
Yeah.
and stuff. It's been very evident. People who have not played the game seem to really, really love it if they didn't stop watching it after Joel died. And the people who did play the game have been very upset on how, Dina is kind of now the main character for a while and things are all lovey-dovey instead of all revenge and
That's
just
me.
certain
I can raise my hand to that.
changes. So I think season 3 they're going to have to do a really good job if they want to be able to come back for season 4.
Well, what's great about season 3, and assuming, so I guess we really can't even allude to what it's going to be about because we haven't run the spoiler flag up, and none of it's been really referenced in this episode, or a little bit. But like, I believe I can confidently say that for me, I think next season would be a bunch more interesting than this season. In fact, I believe that it may have the potential of even getting more people in because you don't have to, like with Ellie, we were kind of on the rails. She had like one thing that she had to do, right? And everything else kind of supported that. Where for what Abby's going to have to do, it'll be much more complicated, to say the absolute least. And I believe much more engaging because there's an active war going on. We know that, right? We know that the wolves are at war with the Seraphites. So there's combat immediately available. There wasn't really that in this season at all, this season at all. So just something to think about for next season. Yeah.
I do want to since we're at the last, this is the finale of the season. Go ahead and get a little bit of thoughts before we go to the spoiler flag about the season as a whole. I will say, like for me, I think I knew this. I mean, I said it from season 1 and before it that I was like, look, like you're turning this awesome game into a show. I don't know if it's gonna be good. I think my expectations were really low. Like for the first season, I just was like, there's no way it's gonna like match up to it. I mean, I'm excited, but I'm not. Like they might ruin it for me, kind of a weird like mix, right? And it's like they just blew it out of the park in season 1 for me. Like I just was like, you guys did so great. Like, yeah, the game is still always gonna be better. But as far as the show is, I'm like, this is probably one of the best like adaptations that I've seen that like brings something new to a story. Was season 1. And so season 2 came and I think I had those high expectations and it matched up to what my thoughts were gonna be for season 1. Where I think it was like, look, I didn't enjoy the changes nearly as much. It was never gonna be as good as the game. And there are some moments that are kind of redeeming for me, and that's helped, right? Like I've had these moments of being like, I do enjoy that they've added certain things, and I can see why they're twisting the story and where they are and how those could possibly work, maybe. But it is also just like half of the story, like you know what I mean? Like we're only like halfway there. Like we have this whole other part to this, so
You're
it
not
is
even halfway there.
I mean, yeah, Chris said
Yeah.
it like a third. It
A
feels
third,
like,
yeah.
so it's one of those where I'm just like that's hard, and those. Anytime you look at like trilogies, it's like the second one is generally like the worst kind of a thing. You
Except
know
for
what I mean?
Empire. Empire is the greatest second one of all time.
Generally, whatever. So it's like it's one of those where it just feels like this is kind of like we had to get into it or whatever, and it's just not, So it was a bit of a letdown, but I'm not, I would definitely come back and keep watching and be somewhat hopeful, I think, is where I sit. How about you guys?
I'm pretty much in the same boat. I didn't have too much of expectations for the first one and they blew it out of the water. And I think what's most upsetting about this one is they changed a lot of things that if they had kept them the same, I think I would have enjoyed the season a lot more. I think they kind of left Ellie behind, and I think Bella Ramsey had some trouble. And maybe it's not her fault. Maybe it's the way that the directors wanted her to act, but she didn't come across as old enough or determined enough or angry enough for me. And it became like, like we said, it's a fun girls trip and stuff. And, oh, I'm going to be a dad kind of thing. And it was just like, what is this?
Yeah.
There was a moment of just like, what are they doing? Like Ellie was pissed in the game when Tina was pregnant because it made her a burden. Like, Ellie wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna be a dad, which was
It
cringy
made
in
her
its
seem
own way
more
because
immature.
True. Yeah.
yes, and it was
Absolutely.
cringy because it's like, no, Jesse's gonna be a dad. Your girlfriend is pregnant. You've dated for like one day, and now you're like, I'm gonna be a dad, and I'm like,
Right.
no, just stop. So it was things like that where if they had stayed to the game, it would have been amazing. But I think they focused in some of the wrong areas. I think they, I mean, one thing, even the flashback, even if they had shown the porch scene, if they had made it like the game where she found out 2 years before instead of 2 minutes before, and then was fine with it, then I would have liked that episode a lot better. But they just changed things that didn't need to be changed, and the stuff they added that was totally new, I love most of it. A lot of it's great, but they took some really good material and decided to change it for some reason, and a lot of it just didn't come across like it did in the game, and it was I'm like, and it's not just because I love the game, I do, but just watching it and being like, you're so upset, you want to kill this person killed your family, and you're going on a trip to kill someone, and then like, oh, but I've got a girlfriend, I'm gonna be a dad, oh my god, let's go do this, blah, blah, blah. And it was just like, I felt like it threw me off so much, and I just felt like there was so much more they could have done if they had let go of some of that stuff too. It just felt that compared to the game and compared to how I felt during the game, this season almost felt empty. Like
Whoa.
Wow.
there was a lot of material, but it felt like a lot of fluff. It felt like a lot of it didn't matter in the end.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of in that, but I think you guys see it a little better than I see it. I think just to piggyback off of what Lizzie said really quick, I think tonally it was unbalanced. Some of the lines you had said are going to resonate for the wrong reasons. Like, you know what I mean? I think that's going to be kicked around in the ether when this is all said and done. Also, this isn't just our opinion too. Well, in this podcast it is. However, all of the big Hollywood Reporter, Variety, IGN, all of the big entertainment review sites got to see the entire series before it was released, and they had very tepid responses, kind of to how the expectations were. A lot of them ranked them on a scale from 1 to 10 between 5 and 7. And after coming off of what Last of Us, how that made us feel, I'm like, there's no way it's a 7. That's impossible. And honestly, for me, if I were to rank it, it would probably be closer to a 6. There are some great moments, but they are far and in between. This episode is probably the best episode, in my opinion, of the season. And then the Joel episode, only because the gravity of that. And I think from the beginning, we all thought, and especially me, the game and the story doesn't really start until Joel dies. Like, that kicks everything into motion. And that did it so well in the game. But for me, it failed to do that in the sense of the show. I think if you're just watching the show on face value, you're like, well, were they that close? Was the bond as strong as, the gamers felt like it was? And I really believe that's why they had to put in that episode from last week where it was just a flashback, where it reminded people that Ellie and Joel, that's her community, to take what she said from this episode. You know what I mean? I think that might have been missing. Because again, unfortunately, it's the medium that we're in. Season 2 premiered almost 2 years ago now. Or, I'm sorry, season 1. So a lot of that kind of goes away, and
Yeesh.
we don't have a lot of the Joel Ellie relationship in a positive spin at all this season. So, there's that. I do feel like, as Jessica mentioned earlier, in the game, she was solely focused on revenge, and in this, it kind of got muddy on a couple episodes. This one, again, like you said, Lizzie, the whole, we're on a date and this is where we're trekking across the world or a couple states to kill the guy who killed my dad, and it's going to be a great time. It just didn't, I don't know, tonally for me, it wasn't great. But for me, the biggest thing, and I think we had talked about it before, is that the creators might have been or too close to their source material, because a lot of the things that they would talk about on their post-show wrap-up wouldn't hit us. They're like, yeah, this is clearly the reason this person did this. When we're watching and we'll talk afterwards, like, that didn't come across at all. So you can be so close to something, and I'm speaking from myself, as a writer, editor, all that shit. It's like, hey, this joke is funny, but it's not funny at all, because you're so close to it. You understand how it's supposed to land, and it doesn't. So I think there was a lot of that too. Like, there was a line that Craig Mazin had said, where he had said that Bella Ramsey could read the phone book and it would be interesting. And I thought to myself, this guy's an idiot. And if he hadn't done Chernobyl, I would think to myself, this guy is somebody's cousin in HBO. He knows somebody. He's sleeping with somebody. Like, something's going on over there. But just going through this season, and for me, it's easily a hard 6. On a scale from 1 to 10, I know it's a long-winded answer. Yeah. And I'm going to go back to you guys really quick. If you had to rate it on topical scale from 1 to 10, where do you think you would rate it?
I guess gotta say, I actually think I am like so anti those like HBO let's talk after the episodes.
Oh my God, I am. Yeah.
I like, it was something they started doing like years ago with a couple of shows, and now they do it for every single show. And I am trying to think of like a show that I really was like, I dug hearing a lot about it afterwards. And I feel like it's never worked out. Like, it's never been because I am like, we like BTS, we like behind the scenes stuff. Yeah. But the problem is, like, art is subjective, and it's like you see a moment and it either reads to you or doesn't, or you get something from it or not. And it's like when you get these directors and even the cast or whatever, and they're like, yeah, this is this, and this. And it's like, that didn't resonate with you. Like, it doesn't mean that it was wrong. It's like, well, it resonated a different way. And sometimes even the different way is better than the way that they had it. You know what I mean? Like, I just have such problems with that, where I'm all like, I don't know if I always want to hear what they were trying to do. It's like, either I just watch it and I enjoyed it, or I didn't. You know what I mean? It either came across or not. And if I'm really curious, then I can go and try to find some reviews or interviews about it. You know what I mean? It's like the A24 thing. If I watch a movie and I'm like, what the heck was that actually? There'll be interviews up that'll explain it to me.
Yeah.
But I like that you specifically chose A24
I did, because let's be real, like, at least the majority of them are just like, here's an allegory for this. Did you get it? Yes, they're beautiful. I love A24. I'm not being a hater.
Yes,
you have to make fun of it. Okay, yeah, the season for me, I might be with you. It might be a 6.
All that to say, yes, 6.
The interviews after are 0.
Oh my God. And even today's interview, Bella Ramsey said the thing that motivated Ellie was her fear of being alone.
Never did that come across.
I was like, that does not come across. And she's got many people surrounding her. Like, what do you mean she's afraid of being alone? So I think sometimes I'm watching those behind the scene things and I'm like, is this why her acting is off? Is this why I'm not liking Bella Ramsey's acting? Because they told her this was a motivation. They told her to, this is the way that Ellie feels and stuff. So it's kind of an eye into the director. And yeah, they're a 0 so far for me. I'm having trouble though. It really conflicts me, because I look back and I'm like, we knew where this episode would end. We knew everything we had to get to, and we spent 3 days in Jackson, 3 of the episodes in Jackson. One was a full flashback that I think should have been spread out through all the episodes.
That's 4
and
episodes.
Then that's 4 episodes. So less than half of the season was spent actually going after Abby.
That's a great point. That's a fucking spot on point.
It felt like that
is a huge, huge part of the game.
It is.
They cut it down to 3 episodes, which makes me think like they could have cut this. They could have cut this. They could have put the flashback spread out, so they could have had another episode in there. And I think that's what really disappoints me, because I'm like, that's what I mean when I'm like, there was a lot of material and I felt like it was empty because we missed. I don't know. There were a lot of things that if I was like, we need to get to the meat of Seattle, I would have cut this. I would have cut this. I didn't need this episode. I didn't need this scene kind of thing. And when they added stuff, I'd be like, man, but you cut out this to add that. And that's a great scene, but you cut out something really good from the game, or you moved it and it doesn't hit the same. So
Yeah.
yeah,
good point.
I'm definitely a 6 or like a 5.
Aye.
It's
Coming in
just
hot.
hard to look back and be like, you had 7 hours and you spent 3 of them in Jackson, 1 of them in a flashback of Jackson, and then 3 of them, one of which was like completely lovey-dovey time inside the theater. So you had 2 episodes of revenge on a game all about revenge.
Fucking,
And so
yeah, good fucking point, Izzy.
That is my problem with this season, where I think they forgot what the whole point was. And we're like, oh, let's explore this. Oh, let's explore this. And then we're like, oh, wait, we got to get back to the main story. And it felt like, it's gone. I don't feel like I saw Ellie in this season, except for right at that what community thing she said. About my community was Joel. Kind of thing.
Yeah. And like, the thing is, it's so annoying because, and we didn't talk about this yet, but it's like Craig Mazin came out this week or whatever saying that he can't tell this, they can't tell this story just within 3 seasons. That he basically was saying, I need a 4th season to complete this story. And that was so infuriating to see because like it's like the fact that they haven't started shooting this next season. Like, I don't even, like, they're in pre-production. They probably are still writing, which means it's like they wrote this season separate than they did the rest of it. And I don't think that was a smart idea. I think this is one of those, like, yeah, if you're going to tell a story, tell the whole damn story. Like, structure it all out, figure it out. You know what I mean? And then, hello, you only did 7 effing episodes in this damn season. You could have added 3 more hours. And you could have probably, guess what? Maybe you could have wrapped up your story in 2 more seasons instead of now being like, I need a 4th. Like, it's making me feel like we may not even get there at this point.
That
like,
might be
I'm
true.
like, we're not greenlit for a 4th season. And if like everything we've talked about, if people don't come back to see the Abby story, you know, or fall off or whatever, then they won't get renewed. And again, even if they do, it'll probably be another painstaking, you know, couple of years before we get like the next one, which is just crazy to me. Like, it's that part that I hate, that I'm like, you took a story that is a full story and you knew that you couldn't do it all in 1 season, but you decided, let's go ahead and write that season, and then we'll hope to get the next one. And then once we're starting to get paid for it and stuff, we'll like write it out. It's like, you should have at least started a draft or something and figured this out, because him coming out now and being like, I need a 4th season, I'm like, bro, that's crazy.
I'm like, if you didn't even know you were going to be getting a 3rd season, I would be like, well, let's do 10 episodes then. Let's give them the best fucking season, whatever. And if they did 2 seasons of 10 episodes, that would be 1 episode less than if you had 3 seasons. And you could do it. You could
do it. You could tell the story in 20 episodes, about an hour each. You could definitely do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's disappointing. I really feel like they've messed up in a lot of ways, and I'll be back here next season whenever it comes out.
We have to, right?
Because I'm a fan of the game and I want to see it. But if it's like this season, it's going to be painful to watch. Because at times I did not want to come back for the next episode.
Yeah, there were points during this, I think we had talked about it, where it's like, if you see it, you see it. You know, because there were certain series where you got to see this fucking episode as soon as it drops. Like, you just have to. And kind of midway towards this, I felt the opposite. I'm like, well, if I see it tonight, I'll see it tonight. If I see it on Wednesday, I'll see it on Wednesday. Like, it didn't have that urgency to it. But you made a really good point. And I want to talk about it to what Jessica said, where it's like, you're betting on a story with a character you don't necessarily care about, in a story that you have no idea about, and you signed up to watch Last of Us for Ellie and Joel, and now you're looking at a season that has neither of those in it. If you drop off, then you may not get a 4th season greenlit like that. So you're basically betting on the poorest hand that you can. You know what I mean? Like, so for me, that's problematic. I didn't think about it until right now. But anyway, yeah. So I don't know. I think they really dropped the ball on this one, especially coming off of the first season of Last of Us. They could have easily been like, I need 10 seasons. I need 10 episodes for 2 seasons at an hour each. They could have said that. And now they have to deal with the vitriol that's coming back from the reviews of this season and going into a season probably in 3 years that, nobody's going to know who these fucking characters are. And nobody might not care. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
I
Okay.
don't know.
Should we do the flag and talk about where we think it's going to go or where we know it's going to go?
Yeah.
Might as well
I'm
run
ready
it
for
and
flag.
then, give our last minute predictions for
Okay.
next season.
we
we come back and listen to this and be like, well, how wrong were
A
we?
couple of years from now, we'll have a great point. All right, I'm running it now. Everybody sit tight.
Stick around.
All right, the flag's been shot up in the air. Everything goes from this point forward from
Pew, pew, pew.
this past season, this upcoming season, and everything in between. So, should we make it just a bold prediction out of order, like how we think it's going to end? Because Lizzie, you
Can
did
I say
bring it up.
something first?
Yeah,
Something
go for
I
it.
thought when I played the game, well, at least at the end of the game, and thought in this episode, why the hell did Owen and stuff not just point at the fucking Seraphite Island? Send
Yeah.
Ellie over
Oh
there.
yeah, right.
I thought that
Yeah.
at the game too. I was like, if I was them, I would have just said she's on this island.
Go
Yeah,
wild.
we
Yeah.
had no
I was like,
In the game, like Mel is so anti-Abby. Like she has more that she says in the game in this moment where she's willing
like-
to give her
she's like,
location
yeah,
away.
let's tell her.
Yeah, she
Like-
is. She's like, just tell her, like, give it to her. You know what I mean? Like, she'll let us live, kind of a thing, or whatever, right? So
But
it's
we
like
know how Owen is and how he feels.
how fucking Owen is.
Fucking guys.
Which we still don't know if they're together. That'll be interesting. Is
Yeah.
Mel just pregnant from anybody, or is it gonna be? Well, I just like from somebody else, or is it gonna be Owen? You know what I mean? Because he's kind of a dick so far.
He's
I do
completely
not like
unlikable.
Owen so
Yeah, he's
far.
completely unlikable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mel's the most
First in the
likable person
game.
there is. Like,
Yeah.
Nora was pretty badass, though, I can't lie. For the
Yeah.
little bit we had her, I was like, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I go back and I haven't watched all the clips and stuff, but seeing Mel and being like, yeah, this girl is like, you're with a guy who obviously likes this girl a lot. This girl is dragging you around for her like revenge. She's getting you in trouble kind of thing. And it's like, why am I here? Like, why am I dealing with you and your ex? So but that was only like after I stopped playing, because she says the whole thing like, I don't know, Abby says something to Mel at one point, and Mel's like, yeah, I'll leave, but only if like you don't come with us.
Oh.
Yeah, I think you're
Interesting.
right. You're right. That does come
And
up.
at that point, I'm like, oh, that's effed up. But I'm like, yeah, they're like still having something
Totally.
going on. Like,
Yeah,
but during the game, I was like, oh, Mel.
I know. None of us like Mel, even though it's like Mel is fully justified. Like Abby
Yeah.
did do a terrible thing, and now they're getting hunted down, and she's just trying to protect her family. It makes sense, but I still didn't
Yeah.
like Mel.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? It just is what it is. I mean, do you think we'll get any appearances whatsoever? Basically, until like the end, I guess, of next season with Ellie or Joel, for that matter. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like,
No, I
it's-
think we'll see Tommy maybe.
Yeah, I keep thinking that. I'm like, they kind of skipped over if that happened or not, right? Like, they didn't talk about if Tommy killed anybody, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the
And
last thing we saw with Isaac was that he's like, we still have Manny,
yeah.
and like that's where Manny is supposed to die, is through Tommy.
But then the shootout happens after that, so
Yeah, so it is possible that that's still what happens. And then it's interesting because even the way Abby shows up at the theater, she's like, he killed my friends or whatever. I had that thought where I'm like, wait, did she even get to the aquarium? Do we know, did she see this or not? Like, it felt like a little bit off and different, or you know what I mean? But I don't know. I'm interested. I'm interested.
I
to see
think
how
they'd have to, right? Because I think for as shocking as that Jesse death is, the Manny death is pretty shocking too. Like he gets his face blown off and it gets on to Abby. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's a shocking moment as long as they build that relationship, because you're going to care about these characters because you're going to see it from her point of view. So I think for the same reason, I think it's going to play out exactly how it plays out in the game. Like I hope so, because there's a shock value to that. You know what I mean? And it's really going to carry her, because I don't know if you guys saw too. On her neck, she has
the bruising
from the Sarah fight
rope.
when she was hung up. Yeah.
Oh, gosh,
Abby,
did she?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Abby has a little string of bruising around her neck, like from where she
wow.
got strung up. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, we know that's coming still.
Her
Well, at
story
least they
is
thought
so
about
good.
that, I guess.
Yeah, and Jessica saw it too. The Lev part in this last episode where they operated and they had to cut Lev's arm off, I think. You know, you
when
see
she
that.
first enters, when Ellie enters the aquarium and then sees all the bandages and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, that's where they cut off Lev's arm.
So there's going to be, I think,
God, there's so much stuff I forgot.
well, I know, right? So, of course, all coming from Ellie's side too, right? So, like, I do think that if they do it right, there's going to be a moment where people start to put together what was happening when and at this moment, and it'll be like a little puzzle as it happens. And I think the replayability of that will be really cool, kind of like Night of the Harvest. But I do think that if they can manage to do that well, I think that would be very cool, because I think people seeing Abby's story with there's an actual war on Seraphite Island that Isaac and them are going forward to, which is a amazing set piece in the game. The whole seafront village is on fucking fire. You know what I mean? We see that the village, and so we have Lev's interaction, who we haven't talked about. We haven't talked about that. I think it's so interesting. So that's what I mean. Like, if people can get past not seeing Pedro Pascal and fucking Bella Ramsey for probably 7 episodes, maybe 5, the story that Abby's like involved with is incredibly interesting and layered and complicated and big. It's a big fucking story. So I'm excited. I'm Team Abby. I love seeing we're finally getting her side of the story. So
Do you think you're Team Abby or Team Abby's story?
Well, no, I believe that she was
You like
right.
playing as Abby.
I
too.
did like, because Abby's just like playing with Joel, but at the same time,
Well, Abby didn't. Yeah, I was like, Abby didn't have to make shivs every time.
exactly
Yeah.
right. It was brute force. I'm a brute force kind of guy when it comes to that. But also, if you think about it in terms of like cause and effect, right? There would be no problem with Abby if Joel didn't do what he did. So the fact that Abby's motivated to do what she did is justified. And then of course we have that conversation every week where it's like, it just depends on what side you're on. But you know what I mean? For me, I'm like, yeah, I mean, Joel kind of got what he deserved and he knew it, you know what I mean? And he knew it. And so, yeah, I think that's why I'm Team Abby. Cause I'm also Team Iron Man, because when you talk about Civil War of what Winter Soldier did, but that's a whole nother conversation. Sorry.
I've got a question though. If you're Team Abby because she went and deserved to kill Joel and stuff, then why are you not Team Ellie, saying that Abby deserves what she gets for doing the exact same thing as Joel did?
Because who started it? That's my
This is
problem.
revenge. It never ends. It's a never-ending cycle.
And it's funny. I love that, because that comes out true. That comes out true. Right? We didn't really talk too much about it, but in the episode where Isaac is torturing the Seraphite, he's like, "Well, you killed my men because of this, and they did that, and they did this, and that's just like war. That's just like that's people." But in our story, in the story that we're kind of in talking about here, where it's like, if Joel didn't do what he did, then obviously Abby wouldn't feel justified in what she did. So I'm like, okay, well, he had it coming to him. Like, if somebody killed my parents, I'd probably do the same thing. And Dina says the same shit. Dina says the same exact thing. It just perpetuates the cycle.
Ellie is justified.
Sure.
Going after Abby.
Yeah.
Especially because Abby literally killed Joel in front of her, like brutally.
But Joel started it. So that's
At least he gave the doctor a fast death.
That's true too.
Shut him in the head.
Actually, I think it would have been worse if they did what I did in the game, where I didn't want to shoot him, and I ended up stabbing him in the neck. So,
also,
like this, I hope they do one thing though, because I remember in this game, and I think it was Abby's part. It might have been, it had to be, where you can fight Seraphites and you can get them down and then like leave them.
What?
And be like, I don't
really.
You get to choose whether you kill them or not. And I was like, I don't want to kill this one. And you turn away and they stand up and they shoot you and they go after you again.
I talked about this.
Yeah, you think you're being lenient. You're like, no, I don't need to kill you. You can live," kind of thing. They'll beg and whatever. And then as soon as you put down your guard, they attack you.
Fuck yeah, dude.
It was a great point in the game, like the
Yeah.
game fighting, and it was the same with the wolves and with Ellie. It could happen too, where it's like if you were beating up somebody enough, but they were just like wounded but not dead, they could start begging you. Like they could stop and be like, please, like just let me go, whatever. But you're absolutely right. The amount of times that I would still be like, let me see if I can let them go, and I would like walk
Yeah.
away, and they always get up and attack. You can stand
Yep.
there, they'll get up and attack. You walk away, they stand up and attack. Like, you know what I mean? So it was, but it's an interesting, it puts you in such a great place. Like that game just literally makes you make these choices.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're
Just like the
"Oh."
doctor. I thought I wasn't going to kill the doctor. I thought I'd take his weapon away and throw it. And no, I ended up stabbing him in the neck. So
You
great for
purposely
me.
did that, yeah.
You know, we talked about like how this season was going to wrap up, and I think we all kind of knew it was going to end at the theater. It's a natural cutting point. I forgot that it cuts to black, and then you swap over to play as Abby because you have to defeat Ellie in the theater as like a mini boss.
Yeah.
So I think
See, that's what I was thinking. I was like, we get the fight in the theater before
Yeah.
it switches over, don't we?
No.
I didn't
don't.
know that. I didn't
No.
know that, but Jessica knew. I didn't know that either. I wasn't sure.
No, it goes to black just like that, and
Wow.
then it goes to Abby's flashbacks. Technically, it jumps into her being,
So
a
do you
kid and
play all
things.
of day 3?
But
And
you are Abby then.
Okay.
And then you go through day 3, show up at the theater, and then you have to play as Abby going after Ellie.
Gotcha. That
in
makes
the
sense.
theater,
That
because if
makes
you
sense.
remember, she's like hiding and ducking around.
Yeah,
and
behind
stuff.
backstage or whatever. Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember.
So that's why I kept feeling like they wouldn't end it at the theater. I kept being like, no, they're not gonna do that, because of the fact that I just was like, it just cut. So it's like I was like, it's a hard place to be like, let's just leave you there. You know what I mean? Like that was my feeling on it. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, and that's cool.
Where do
to
you
come
guys
back to
think?
it.
So now we
Yeah.
talked
I
about
think,
final, right? Final.
Yeah, final.
Lizzie.
like, what do you mean final?
The-
Like our
the
final
end-
thoughts?
how's it wrap up?
Wait, what part of final?
So you know how
if they end it next season,
there's no porch scene, right? What do
If
they have in
end
place
it
of the porch
next
season?
Ooh, at least she'll still be able to play the guitar.
But she won't. She won't be able to play the guitar.
If they don't get a 4th season, apparently
Oh,
it
that's
sounds
what
like.
you're saying. I meant like,
But,
okay, how do they wrap up this game without the porch scene? Like
Oh.
Yeah.
the porch scene's gone, not the game, I guess the show.
I think they're gonna have to add something.
I think they do too. That's kind of where I feel too. Is I'm like, I feel like it'd be the same kind of lead up with like their final fight, but then, I don't know. It's that whole thing
I
where
was
she
like, are
goes
they
back
gonna-
to the house, and it's so freaking depressing because it's all empty.
Yeah.
And then it's like, after that, what do you do? And it's like, hopefully there would be some other little like Joel flashback.
If
or
they
something.
kept Dina,
Yeah.
that would solve that. Because it could end exactly the way it does. But if she goes
Dina
home,
deserves better.
she does 100%.
does.
And honestly, I think that if you look at like the themes of what they're trying to teach in terms of like like globalism and morality, it's like, yeah, if you do this, you're right, Lizzie, she deserves better, so she should move on. She shouldn't have to wait on a whim for someone who acts like this and leaves them behind to go pursue some vision of justice and revenge. You're absolutely right. But I could see them, putting a bow on it and being like, hey, I don't want to say happy ending, because the alternative is like, fuck, it's pretty fucking depressing
Yeah.
if there is no Dina at that point and no Joel. That's just like, I don't know.
That's what happens. That's how much you sacrifice for revenge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dig
I
two
don't
graves.
see. I'm like, I don't know how they can make it, because that ending without the flashback was just so sad. She had lost
Yeah, it was so
everything.
depressing. And it was
Every
still sad,
friend,
but-
every family, every connection she had with Joel, every place she had that she could call home, all of it gone. And then she just sees this thing of, me and Joel were going to be okay, and she walks out of the house and leaves her guitar behind. And it was like that. At least they were going to be okay, but holy shit, she lost everything, just
Yeah.
like Abby did.
Yeah.
But so I don't know, unless they're just going to end on that horrible note of her
They might.
playing the guitar.
And
But
then
oh my
walking out of the
God,
house.
it was such a hit to the not personality, the feelings when you
Mhm.
saw Joel that last time. So I don't know what they're gonna do. I think they have a very good chance of making next season great. There are plenty of things they can do, plenty of characters. The
Yeah.
big boss down in the basement of the
Oh fuck
hospital.
yeah, the Rat King. Yeah.
The Rat King. I realized we didn't really have any big zombies this season. I think that's why they added the zombie fight in episode 2.
Yeah,
Is that
that's
it?
probably
I
true. The
think you're-
bloater. Yeah.
I think you're right
Other-
on it. Other than the stalkers, they added those guys in. But yeah, it's funny when we were in the bookstore, I was like, isn't there like a bookstore scene where you like fall through and then there's like a big bloater and you know what I mean? I was like, are we gonna hit that? And I was like, of course not. So I'm
Yeah.
with you. They didn't have a lot of. I think that's why they had to put a bloater over there and have that whole
Yeah.
scene.
So I think next season could hit it off really great. I think the problem they could fall into though is if, like Ellie, they focus on the Owen Abby relationship and change it to be, I don't know, something. But I don't know. There's not like, whereas Ellie, God, somehow they made this season lovey-dovey for Ellie, which it just should not have been.
Yeah.
Not past episode 2.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they could do that with Abby, so maybe that's a good thing. So
I know, it's like,
it'll,
especially because like the love relationship is so much bigger. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like that's
I
such a
think-
bigger part of the story than the Owen part, really.
yeah, I think next season could be very good if they do it right. It's of course going to have backlash because there is a trans character. But I mean, I've actually heard a lot of backlash on this season, and I've also heard that HBO is kind of trying to silence people who put up videos. They've been
I saw that.
copywriting striking.
Yeah, I saw the critical drinker got one. He's an asshole though. The guy's he's the dickhead. But yeah, I saw that too.
I mean, yeah, if you take clips from their show, that's like everybody though. Let's go.
No, just talking about it.
Oh,
They
really?
talked bad about it. It was a lot of, I mean, it was a lot of YouTube videos, so maybe they had clips and stuff.
Because I was
but
gonna say that that's
the-
an easy way to get them.
Yeah, but they were saying only people who have talked bad about it are getting copyrighted, whereas the people who are really loving it are not. And I mean, that's what I've heard. I don't know if it's 100% true, but I think that's something that I'm like, they need to accept that this wasn't a great season. There were
Right.
some
Yeah.
mistakes, and look at that and go into next season knowing what the people want and what they really disconnected with.
I mean, hopefully, yeah. It's always a slippery slope if you decide to go like fan pleasing. You know what I mean? Because even this
Yeah.
one, but this season even like had a little bit. There was moments of fanfare stuff that I was like, I don't know if that was necessary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'm with you. It's hopefully they can do better. It is the to be fair, even in the game, as much as like this part is, you know, Ellie and we love Ellie and stuff. It's like the game really does get interesting once you start playing Abby, and like
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
it starts to get more
It's
complex. and
big.
stuff.
It's big.
It's big, yeah.
I really feel like I keep thinking of gameplay I had as Ellie, and we didn't see anything of it really in this season. So I was like, Abby has a more complex story. So hopefully they kind of stick with it.
Well, the last thing I want to ask about is this, and you guys mentioned it in just a few moments ago about how if the next season, it could be great, but it depends on how it's received. I do say that the numbers are great for that. Numbers don't lie. You'll tell people who are watching. You'll have the data, and then you'll be able to go from there. But that being said, I'd like for us to take a step back and put ourselves in shoes of just people that are watching the show, right? Never mind. I know it's hard for us to do because we have such intimate knowledge about the game and the characters and where it's going and what it could be. But if you're someone who's just watching the show and you've seen the first 2 seasons, I mean, is this something that you come back for season 3 in 2 years? Or are you like, well, maybe I'm over this whole, and you know, knowing with what you know, because it's not going to have Pedro, it's not going to have Bella, it's going to be revolving around a character that you know nothing about, around an actress who's done very little. You know what I mean? So it's just another post-apocalyptic TV show. Do you come back for that? Is it something that people will do?
I think The cliffhanger at the end would have me so pissed.
It pissed off
I was
me.
gonna say that. I was like,
Yeah.
only because of the cliffhanger.
The cliffhanger
think-
would have me so mad because it's like 'cause even beyond it being a cliffhanger, it would then it shows you we're gonna go watch Abby, and I would be like that. I'd be like, wait, is this day one? So we just gonna follow Abby through this time? I don't give a fuck about her.
I
feel
mean,
like-
that's how I felt playing the game. Honestly.
Yeah, so I feel like I don't know. I don't know. I probably wouldn't feel as strongly about coming back. I
Yeah.
think. But because
think-
and again, it's gonna be 2 years, so it's like there's gonna be such separation.
You know, if they made it past Joel being killed, which I know a lot of people didn't,
Yeah.
then I think they'll come back for season 3 or be likely to.
Or at least give it a
I-
chance, right? They'll give it a chance.
Yeah, give it a chance. And those people also don't know that season 3 is going to be completely Abby. It's not. I mean, it's
Sure.
kind of apparent, but maybe it's more apparent because we actually know for sure. But yeah, I was like, I think it could be a good season. So if they do come back, but I would also understand if they don't. But everything I've read online where people, you know, go on Reddit and they're like, what did you think about the episode? It's always people who have not played the game that are saying like, oh, that was great. That was
Yes,
a great
that's my
moment
worry.
right there.
Yeah.
And it's always something that I have a problem with. They're like, that was a great moment. I loved seeing Ellie on the porch and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, you know, if I hadn't played the game and had that other scene and this, maybe I would be okay with this because I don't know what I'm missing out on, I guess. I don't know
Totally.
what has replaced this scene that I really, really love. So I think even with this episode too, I think probably the people who haven't played the game probably really liked it if they're already a fan. And I think there is a good chance of them coming back. I think they actually have to worry more about the people who played the game right now.
That's a good point.
Interesting. Yeah, that's true.
Good take. Yeah. Well, this season was fun. It was great chatting with you guys, kind of getting your feelings and thoughts. Good perspectives for sure. And I think that, I hate to say that it's going to take 2 years. It's probably going to be about 2 years. I would say that Fallout did a great example of how to do it. I think in terms of a series where they've already wrapped season 2 and they're already in pre-production for season 3. Like it's going to be out. They're going to be in pre-production for 6 months before their show comes out, their season. So we'll get it a lot sooner. So hopefully it doesn't take forever and a day to get fucking season 3 of Last of Us 2. But
You know, I will say this makes me worried for Harry Potter because if they can't film Harry Potter fast, you know. I knew you guys wouldn't take that well. You
That
failed
was
my
so
test.
funny. I was all like,
oh my goodness.
You know, you gotta switch it up every once in a while.
I
Bring,
know, I was like, it's
bring
too
something else
late.
to the table.
I was like, what? So funny.
All right. Well, for the last time for season 2, I'm Chris.
I'm Jessica.
And I'm Liz.
All right.
And he wasted it.
Wasted it?